Joining me now to give some insight to this is Jake Moore. He's a cybersecurity expert. Jake, good to see you this afternoon. We were hearing there from the detective superintendent from the Metropolitan Police. This was the largest ever fraud case investigated. It's a long, complex investigation, drawing in many different bodies, including international law enforcement. Just give us a sense of the complexities of investigating this.
Yeah, so first of all, this is a very impressive investigation. I take my hat off to all those involved. This is a huge global operation, and like we just heard, the largest fraud investigation that's ever taken place in the UK. This is so difficult to investigate. The fact that he's pleaded guilty, that highlights how incredible the police have worked together to get the evidence. I've worked in digital forensics units in the police force. Getting that evidence is very tricky, as with the tools available, such as the dark web, VPN services. Getting that evidence is so tricky. So a testament to them to get a guilty plea out of this.
And just give us a bit more of an idea of what the scam actually involved. Now, he had a website, didn't he, that he charged people to access, and it enabled them to get hold of technology so that they could make these phone calls. So just tell us a bit more.
Yes, so iSpoof allowed people to make caller IDs appear to be from legitimate companies, such as your bank. You've probably heard of these types of scams before, and they defraud the victims into tricking them into moving their money or providing sensitive information, such as banking passwords, and then those criminals can do that. And it all starts with the dark web, actually, or that the amount of personal information that may have been compromised once before, that's sold on the dark web or it's given away for free. And using that personal data, scam callers can convince those people to move the money into another bank account. They believe they're moving it to secure it, but of course they've just moved it straight into the criminals' accounts. And then unfortunately, most of the time they don't see that money again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, now that TJ Fletcher has been sentenced to prison, presumably, you know, the money's gone. I was reading that one of the victims lost several £1 million.
Yeah, the amount of money here is huge. And that's really why the police have targeted this service. And we tend to see these kind of services appear on dark web websites and on Telegram, but we rarely see an open website, such as any website that you can just enter on a normal browser, such as Chrome, for example. So this has really pointed the police to really target them. The huge amounts of money involved here has made them go after them. And luckily, they've got this far with it. Usually, we don't tend to see the case turn out so fortuitous for the CPS and the police.
And because people were divulging information, passwords, etc., legally, it means that they are liable for their own losses, doesn't it? Even if they've been duped into giving that information.
No, not always. So this is where the police and the banks work together. This is called authorized push payment fraud, where you've been forced, coerced, manipulated into handing over that information because they do believe that they are speaking to the legitimate companies and banks. You know, when the number comes up, and you're able to then Google that number, and they'll even say to you, look, if you don't believe us, give it a quick search and you'll see that this number is actually the right number. And of course, that's when people let their guard down, and then they are completely puppeteered into handing over credentials because they believe they're at risk if they don't do that. And that's where people should, of course, take those extra few minutes, even hang up on if they believe it is the bank, and take a few minutes to actually think, what are they doing? And are they being asked to do something quickly, which they normally wouldn't?
And he was paid by a lot of the criminals who wanted to access this technology, paid him in Bitcoin. Presumably that made it harder for the police to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, of course, that's the favorite currency for cyber criminals. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which just make it far, far more difficult for the investigators to go and follow the money. It's not like the old days. The Economic Crime Unit would just see the money go from bank account to bank account. Using digital currencies such as Bitcoin, it makes it nearly impossible to follow it. And then I think the only way they were able to get to the victims was by to target the website and with those numbers listed essentially in a database, to then text all those numbers to see if they were actually victims of crime, of which they then found many people.
All right, Jake Moore, fascinating to get your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, air rage is